These last few weeks have been powerful. We're learning how to function under an open heaven. What does that look like to function under an open heaven? Do you have to, it's good to have hope, but do you have to hope that God will move? See, we use hope in two different contexts under this heaven. I have hope, but I don't have to have hope. I hope God will move in my life. No, He will. I know that He will.
Amen.
And that is the hope that I have. Oh, come on, y'all. I'm trying to get our minds open today. And so God He's teaching us how to live under an open heaven. You've got to remember how Jesus lived. He was a man just like us. He gave up who He was up there to become like us down here.
Right.
Oh God. But He lived under an open heaven. And that's why we saw miracles, signs, and wonders follow Him everywhere He went. Some people say, oh, it's still Jesus. Yeah, but you got to remember, Jesus gave up who He was to be like us so that we could be like Him.
Amen.
Amen.
We don't do cheat codes in open heaven. He gave it all up. But what He did was He studied the law. And He believed God for what He read.
Truth.
He believed God for what He read. There was no, but I heard this, but I was raised under this, but my other pastor told me that. My parents used to do this. He read for himself.
Right. Amen.
And he believed only what he read. And he believed what God revealed to him through prayer.
That's right.
And he operated only in that. And sometimes we use the grace card and we take it too far. I can get around this and do this, but God loves me. I can get around this way and do things this way, and He'll forgive me. Yes, He'll forgive you, but you're not operating under an open heaven. You're operating under your own heaven.
Amen.
So I'm going to read 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. And then I'm going to read Luke 21, verses 1 through 4. I'm reading from the NIV version. So I'm going to start in 2 Chronicles chapter 1. It says, Solomon, son of David, established himself firmly over his kingdom, for the Lord his God was with him and made him exceedingly great. Then Solomon spoke to all Israel, to the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, to the judges and to all the leaders in Israel, the heads of families. And Solomon and the whole assembly went to the high place of Gibeon, for God's tent at meeting was there, which Moses, the Lord's servant, had made in the wilderness. Now David had brought up the ark of God from Kiriath Jearim to the place he had prepared for it, because he had pitched a tent for it in Jerusalem. But the bronze altar that Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Ur, had made was in Gibeon in front of the tabernacle of the Lord. So Solomon and the assembly inquired of him there. And Solomon went up to the bronze altar before the Lord in the tent of meeting and offered 1,000 burnt offerings on it. Somebody say 1,000 burnt offerings. 1,000 burnt offerings on it. I'm going to come back to that, but I want us to go over to Luke 21. Luke 21. And I'm going to read verses 1 through 4. So Luke 21, verses 1 through 4, it says, Jesus looked up. He saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasure. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. 2 small copper coins. Truly I tell you, he said, the poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in all that she had to live on. And so if I have to talk to you today from a title, it's called The Harvest is in the seed. The harvest is in the seed. There's something powerful about sowing seeds and sacrificial offerings for the betterment of furthering the kingdom. And in this text, we see two different stories where a wealthy man and a poor widow understood the importance behind sowing a seed. Solomon sacrificed 1,000 burnt offerings not only because he knew the symbolic meaning behind the 1,000, but because the ancestors at the end of his father David's life also sowed seeds to the kingdom just before David died. You'll find it in 1 Chronicles 29. So they were all old, and they knew in order for God's kingdom to continue, they had to sow into the next generation of kingdom works. So what Solomon offered was only possible from a seed that was planted by those who get it from a previous generation. Are y'all with me?
Amen.
The poor widow, all she had was 2 copper coins. There was no breadwinner with paychecks because she was a widow. She had a depleted savings account with 2 copper coins to her name, but she understood godly and kingdom principles that I'm not going to let what I have affect my faith in what God says he will do according to my sacrifice. So she was sowing into a promise. Come on now. Because she understands the principles of God. She's sowing into a promise. Her last 2 coins. She said, I'm going to give them both. Because if I give both, I know the promises of God is not only that he's going to take care of you. The Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you.
Amen.
But she understood principles. So she gave her last of all she had. And sometimes we wonder why we have high hopes of breakthrough. We get some great revelation like through a life coach or a career coach or a professional person of some sort, but we don't ever get to the next level of the revelation because we get to sample the plate, but we don't sow into the person that made the meal. I believe our harvest is tied up in a seed. So we had Solomon and this poor widow who tapped into kingdom principles. Solomon was desperate for wisdom, so he sowed. The widow was desperate for a breakthrough, so she sowed. When was the last time you can say that you sowed a seed according to kingdom principles that commands a response from God?
Amen.
We all shout. Come on, y'all. We've all done the shouting thing. We've all prayed. We've all fallen out on the floor. Maybe not all of us, but we've seen it. Come on, y'all. We done did everything, every act of God, I need you, that's known to man. But yet, we still haven't had the breakthrough yet, and we're wondering, why am I not getting through that roof? Why am I hitting this ceiling? I'm not getting to the next level in the things of God. I'm not getting to the next level in my breakthrough. I'm believing God for this. I'm believing God for the next thing. But why is it that I get to the brink, but then there's no break? Have we considered the seed? Have we considered sowing the seed? And I think about manners. Can we talk about manners for a minute? You don't ever go to somebody's house and not bring a gift.
Amen.
I'm just cutting to the chase on it. You don't go to people's house
Amen.
and not bring a gift. You don't go to another country and meet the ambassador or the king of that country and not bring a gift. Are y'all getting this?
Amen.
When you go before someone of authority, you bring something to show them a little bit of honor. It could be your soft cakes. She makes these beautiful cakes. bring something to the table. Amen. Whatever it is that you bring it as a gift of honor in acknowledging who they are and possibly the relationship that you're looking to establish with them. So as Solomon was desperate for an answer and a move of God, I see the altar and I can go to the altar, but I'm not coming empty-handed. I'm coming with a sacrifice. I'm coming with an offering. I'm coming with a seed. The old widow, she came to the treasury not looking for handouts, because everybody with money goes there to drop money off. She could easily say, "Can I borrow $5 to put in there?" Or shekels. This is back in the day. We gotta talk shekels. But she came with all she had, because I understand y'all got it to give, but I don't have to give. But what I do have is faith. What I do have is principles. And I understand that if I give, even if it's just a little bit, I'm going to get blessed. She could have compromised and said, well, let me give them one. Keep the other one, because I may have to go to Walmart later. Come on, somebody, give me keep it real for a minute. Yeah. I can compromise and say, I'm just going to give you a piece of what I have and expect a whole blessing. Oh, God Almighty. Y'all ever done that? Give God a piece of your praise and expect a whole blessing?
Stealing from God.
Come on. Like Prophet said earlier, going for broke. And so that's one of the most disheartening things we can see is when a person set a New Year's resolution or declare new beginnings in their life, they go into it with the mindset of, if I declare it, I will have it tomorrow. Y'all know it now. Come on, we know it. If I declare it on the 1st, I need to see it manifest on the 2nd. Why do you think so many New Year's resolutions go out the window by the 2nd week of January? Because we're declaring things, but we're misfocused on and misguided on what it means to declare something. When you declare something, you're setting the stage for a manifestation down the line. There's a difference between declaring something and receiving a prophetic word. I can prophesy to you today and you can see the manifestation tonight. But if you declare something today, it does not mean it's going to manifest at all this year.
Exactly. Amen.
So what's happening is we have people that are coming into these new seasons and they're declaring things, and they're positioning themselves, and they get to the door, but the door is locked. They know the blessings on the other side of the door. They know they're at the right door, but the door is locked and they don't have the key. The key wasn't in the declaration. The key was in the seed. I'm going to teach you guys something today, because I had to get this for myself. I just got this myself. So I'm not teaching this to you as if I've been doing this all my life. I just got this revelation from God a few weeks ago. When I talk about sowing the seed, there's different ways of sowing seeds. Let me do it this way. When you go to the store, these garden stores, you go to these stores and you go to the garden section, they got these packages with a picture on it. And you can see what that seed is going to look like when it manifests. So you know, if it's an orange tree, you can see the package, it'll show you a picture of an orange tree. But in the bag, it's just a seed. If it's dandelions, roses, whatever the flowers are, you can see the end result, but you realize inside of the package is only a seed. Yeah. So when you get the package, you realize you got to roll your sleeves up, and it's going to take some time for this to manifest into what I saw. So we have to get into that habit, church, of understanding when I sow a seed, I shall get a return. But the return does not mean it's going to come tomorrow. That woman, that widow who sowed a seed, she gave up her last. She knew she wasn't going to get anything back that day. But she knew that she was sowing into a promise for a future day. the Lord declares blessings over you. When he says that I know the plans that I have for you, I have plans to prosper you. And watch this. He says, this is the word spoken by the Lord, right? He says this. He knows the plans that he has for you. And so the word says that the Lord shall go forward, and the Lord's word will go forward, but it shall never return void. Y'all know the word. So as he declares blessings over you, he declares prosperity over you. He says, I have plans for you, plans to prosper you. That is his word going forward, and that word shall never return void. So that means when he declared it, he put it out there in the atmosphere from heaven, and it came to the earthly realm waiting for you to grasp the concept that I shall prosper. That there's no weapon formed against me that shall prosper. That I can walk in the blessings of God, and it's waiting for you to understand that so that you can take hold of it. Because the word can't go back to him until you do. So a lot of us have prosperous seeds just floating around the earth. Businesses that hasn't been planted yet. Come on, y'all. Opportunities that haven't been planted yet because God spoke this over you. Yeah. Wealth that hasn't been planted yet because you haven't received the fact that you don't have to be broke all your life. Good health that hasn't been processed yet because you haven't processed the fact that you don't have to be sick all your life. Y'all not getting this today. God spoke this word over you, and when he said prosper you, he didn't limit it to money. He said he's talking about your life. So as you receive it, that's when the seed goes in. And as you speak the word, as you speak health, as you speak all these things that God promised you over your life, now it's starting to germinate. Y'all know what that is, right? It's a process when the seed starts to develop into what it was meant to develop into. So now it's manifesting. And then as it manifests and when it's complete in you, then it can return back home and says, God, I did what you sent me to do. Look at your son. Look at your daughter. But it starts with a seed. The Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you. Y'all know the word. Everybody know that word? It says, press down, shaking together. Running over. Running over. What else does it say? And he says, it's talking about your lap. What does it say about your lap? Anybody know the word? He'll pour it in your lap. He's talking about pouring blessings in your lap. I need y'all to get this for me. This is hitting my spirit right now. This is what I need y'all to get. When you sow a seed, when you're walking under the kingdom principles of God, he says, I'm going to bless you so much your left hand is going to be overflowing with blessings. Your right hand is going to be overflowing with blessings. Your pockets are going to be overflowing with blessings. Your friend's right hand, your friend's left hand, your friend's pockets. Everybody's going to be overflowing with blessings to a point where he has no other place to pour but in your lap. I think 3 of y'all got that. Give and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down. Shaken together. And he says, I want to pour the rest of it in your lap. Because you got no other place, no more capacity for you to handle it. But because you are out of capacity doesn't mean he's going to stop blessing you. Doesn't mean he's going to stop pouring into you. Doesn't mean that his blessings stop because you can't handle it. He's going to continue to pour. Even though your hands can't receive it, your feet can't receive it, your pockets can't receive it, then I'm going to pour it in your lap. But I'm going to keep giving his blessing unto you because you sow. Amen. Amen. According to kingdom principles. I don't know if anybody else want a blessing like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lord, fill my lap up. Fill my lap up. Fill my lap up. Because you cannot outgive God. Your capacity is limited, but his is unlimited. So even if you gave him all you had, it's still a little bit. But when he gives all he's got, it's going to overwhelm you. It's going to scare you, like my brother said, because, wow, I received all of this and you're still blessing me. Anybody ever had a still blessing me moment where you just know that you received the best from God, but yet there's more on top of that? It's just something about the still blessing me that keeps me saying, I want to continue to sow my seed so you can continue to bless me, because I know you can bless me beyond what I'm able to give.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
You blessed me. You gave me everything I asked for, but yet you're still giving. But yet you're still blessing.
Abundant.
Come on, that's that abundant life. So I go back to Solomon. Solomon sold, he offered 1,000 burnt offerings. And there's a significance behind this 1,000. There's a significance behind it. So it symbolizes immensity, fullness of quantity, or a multitude. You know, God he's something else with numbers. Every number that you find in the Bible has a meaning behind it.
Yep.
So Solomon understood the principle of that number. He could have sold one burnt offering. He could have sold 5. He could have sold 10, 12, 15, but he understood the power behind 1,000. So he sold 1,000 burnt offerings. So as we look at the meaning of 1,000, it says immensity, and it talks about, let me say it this way. Solomon was all in. Because that's what 1,000 means. 1,000 means I'm all in. I'm just going to cut to it. It means I'm all in. So I'm going to give you this 1,000 because I'm all in. So that means I'm giving you everything that I have because I'm all in. I need a touch from God. I need a hearing from God. I need a word from God. So I'm giving you this number that I know you know means that I'm all in.
All right, preacher.
And we don't know what the offerings were. We just know that he had to carry it from one place to another. So I don't know if y'all understand this. He had to travel from one place to another to that altar. So they were offering calves, cows. They were offering goats. They were offering whatever it was. He had to transfer it from one place to another. Probably one at a time.
Sacrifice.
Come on. Or possibly in small groups. But he had to do it until he got to the number 1,000. Y'all understand that this offering was tedious. It wasn't something that was simple. It wasn't something that was convenient. He had to put work in. But he knew the sacrifice that was needed in order to hear from God what he needed. So he was allowing himself to be inconvenienced just to hear from God.
Amen.
He could have stopped at 13. It's too much work. I'm sure he'll take 1 or 2 of these. And I'm done. But it's too far for me to travel back and forth with all of this sacrifice. Let me just cut it short and give him a partial offering and expect a whole blessing.
Don't rob God.
Come on. When you're sowing, when you're giving God an offering and you're expecting an answer, give him everything you got. Give him everything you got. Because it's worth it. And I'm going to say it this way. If the seed you sow does not inconvenience you, there's no power behind it.
Nell and Boyd.
If the seed you sow does not inconvenience you, there's no power behind it. And I love this, that when God showed up, when Solomon went before God and God showed up, verse 7, God didn't show up and have this long, elaborate speech. He didn't show up with all of this memorization of what Solomon did right or wrong. He asked one question. It's in verse 7. What can I do for you? Imagine that you're willing to give God everything. I'm all in. I just need a moment of your time. And he sees your sacrifice and he shows up. The mighty God shows up. And the only thing he wants to know is, what can I do for you? sometimes we miss it. We miss it. Because we're in an atmosphere where 2 or 3 people giving everything they got for God's presence.
Talk, preacher.
And 2 or 3 other people giving somewhat, just enough. And then you got some folk that ain't giving nothing. God's still in the atmosphere, but he's only speaking to those who gave everything they got. I don't want to be that person that is in the same room with God, but he's not speaking to me because I'm too cool to give him everything I got. He showed up at Solomon's feet. He said, what can I do for you? And he blessed him. He said, oh, you know what? I just want wisdom. I just want wisdom. I'm giving you everything I have. Not because I want a house. Not because I want a car. Come on, y'all. But because I want wisdom. I want wisdom. And if you read that story further, you'll see that not only did God give him wisdom, but he gave him a multitude of everything that he sowed.
Yeah.
Amen.
Not only am I going to give you what you asked for, but I'm going to give you back what you sowed times 10. Tenfold. God is too good to add to you. He's got to multiply to you because that's what he does. I'm not going to just add to you. I'm going to multiply what you gave to me.
Yep.
Because he was all in. He was all in. So what God is showing me about this open heaven that we're living in, that requires a commitment. A commitment. That everything I have is yours. Yeah, I might have worked for it, but it's yours. Y'all getting the difference between the two? I worked for it, but it's yours. And once we get to that understanding, like the widow, it's all I have. It's all I got left, but it ain't mine anyway. Come on. Come on. It's yours. And in the Bible, when we see that people are willing to sacrifice, not based on convenience, but out of desperation. I need a touch from God. I need to hear from God. I need a move from God. Understand what's going on with Solomon. He could have just prayed. He could have went home and read some scriptures. He could have showed up at Bible study. He could have spent the entire praise and worship at the altar crying. But he realized that's just not enough. I need God's attention. So as I go into his presence, I got to bring him something. Y'all got to get this. He allowed his sacrifice to match his desperation. He allowed his sacrifice to match his desperation. Sometimes we're desperate, but we don't want to sacrifice nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, God. We don't want to give up anything. I'm desperate, but God, can you meet me in my comfort zone? I says, I don't like going over there. Because you can't see me in your comfort zone. My power it hits different in your comfort zone. I need you out of your comfort zone. I need you out in the wilderness. I need you out in the deep. I need you in places unseen. I need you in places unknown. Because when you're out there, I know you're going to see my power at work. I can't meet you in your comfort zone. So when we sow seeds, if we're sowing it in a comfort zone, that's not good soil. Oh, God. Because God ain't there. Oh, God. I hope I ain't losing nobody. Are y'all with me today? Amen. Praise God. I won't call this a formula. I'm just going to say that I'm seeing something here. I'm seeing trends here. God moves according to your prayers. Yes, he does. There's sometimes, if we could just be honest with them, there's been some breakthroughs that we need and we ain't seen yet. And we've been praying. We've been fasting. We've been believing God. But we haven't sowed a seed. Godly principles. And the seeds is what's getting you away from the crowd. What do I mean away from the crowd? Everybody has a need. Everybody's calling on God. Everybody saying, Lord, fix this. Lord, deliver that. Lord, bless this. Lord, heal this. Everybody is calling on God for something. But the ones you hear about with the testimonies, they sowed a seed. Are y'all with me today?
Amen.
I'm trying to do a separation so that God can do something in this new year for folk that's been praying for the last 4 or 5 years for a different report than what they've been getting.
Amen.
He's got something in store, and he's trying to separate us from the common group. Solomon understood this principle. That poor widow understood this principle. You guys remember the rich man, the parable of the rich man when, no, not the talents, when Jesus, in the gospel, is in Matthew, when Jesus was walking and this rich man came up to him. Hey, it's me, Mr. Rich Man. Right? You remember me, the rich guy? Yeah, I'm the guy, yeah. I paid my tithes. Come on, y'all. I give to whoever is in need. I follow the law the way I'm told and I'm supposed to follow the law. But then Jesus said, okay, you did all that. That's good. But I want you to give up everything you own and follow me. Woo! Woo! That's when the red flags went up. Hold up, partner. That ain't happening. I worked too hard to get all of what I have. Now, I did what I'm supposed to do according to the law. Now, you want me to do something extra? I'm sorry, let me use another word. You want me to do something inconvenient? Come on, somebody. So he walked away sad. Now, watch this. We know that story. But what God revealed to me about that story, it wasn't about him giving up his stuff. It was about him sowing a seed. You have wealth, give it up. Sow a seed. It ain't yours anyway. Sow a seed. He's too stingy with himself. Too stingy with his stuff. Too stingy with his time. Too stingy with his money. Too stingy with every possession that he had. God was saying, he was just simply saying, sow a seed. Give it out. It's not yours anyway. And he couldn't do it. He was blessed to a degree. He was blessed to an extent. But watch this. Because he couldn't sow a seed, he missed out on heaven.
Wow.
He didn't understand the principles. Give and it shall be given unto you. He had an opportunity to follow Christ himself. Follow the principles. Follow Jesus in the flesh. I mean, the real him. He had an opportunity and he didn't realize that in whatever I give up, I'm going to get it back in multitudes.
Yes. Yes.
But sometimes we get so caught up on what we have and we think this is the maximum capacity of what we're supposed to have. I'm fully blessed. I got everything I need. Why should I give unto this other person? Because you're forgetting principles. If you give, it'll be given back to you in multitudes. He didn't understand that. He missed that in the Word. He read everything else except the part about giving. He read about all the wealth he's supposed to give. And he went and obtained the wealth. And he thought he fulfilled everything. But he said, no, go sow a seed. I'm going to test you out. Go sow a seed. Let me see what you're talking about. And he missed it. Because he missed it, he missed heaven. He says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. Ain't nothing wrong with being rich. But when you forget kingdom principles while being rich, that's a problem. That's a problem. So I don't want to go too long. Let me tie this in real quick. God is taking us to another level. We have to understand what principles work under an open heaven. And what principles are just stuff that we do that has nothing to do with godly principles. He's saying that for the breakthrough that you're looking for the key to that door that you're standing at, and you know your blessing's on the other side, have you sown a seed? you sown a seed? Or have you just been praying? See, your prayers, they work. Don't get me wrong. But have you sown a seed? How desperate are you to get to the next level? You're coming to the feet of God, asking for a breakthrough. You're coming to the feet of God and not bearing any gifts. No cake, no cinnamon rolls, no frankincense and myrrh. What are you bringing to the table that shows God I believe that if I give, it's going to come back to me greater than the way I gave? Y'all remember the story about the talents? Mm-hmm. I'm going to close here. I promise I'm going to close in a minute. 1, 2, and 5. The person with 1 talent, stingy as all get out. I'm going to keep this one, because if I give this one away, I won't have nothing else. So I'm going to hide this one. The one with 2 gave away, he got back more. The one with 5 gave away, he got back more, he got double. But watch this though. The one with 5, that's when your mind starts to shift because you got more than everybody else. You can become very entitled when you got more than other people, right? Y'all know how it is. You got more, you feel like, oh, I'm better than you because I got more than you, right? I was like that with gummy bears, but so. But he could have been entitled, but he took his 5 and he said, I'm going to give all 5. They only had 2, the other one only had 1, so I could still give 4 and have given more than, but I'm going to still give everything that I have.
All in.
All in. And God blessed him not only with the multiplication of what he gave, but he also gave what the other ones had to him. Unexpected blessings was given to him. He followed kingdom principles and was only expecting to get back 10, but he got more than 10. He ended up getting 14 back. Why? Because God said, not only am I going to give you what I promised you according to my principles, I'm going to give you the talents that they produced. Because you was all in. He wasn't expecting all of that to come back. Brother, you spoke a word today about unexpected blessings. When you're all in, God, he will reward you according to his principles, but he has a way of putting a little extra on there. Yeah, he's got a little way of putting icing on the cake. So he said, I'm going to bless you greater than what you even expected because you trusted me with everything you have. So for those of you that are believing God to get you through that locked door, you've been praying. Fasting, you've been seeking God. But God is saying, understand kingdom principles. What summons my presence. In such a capacity that you don't just get through what you're looking for. You prosper. You prosper on a whole nother level. Is there anybody in here today that believes God to prosper you on a whole nother level? Yes. Come on, is there anybody in here that believes God to prosper you on a whole nother level? Amen. As you give your offering to God, whatever it is, understand it's not for God. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to really close for real. As you give an offering, whatever it is, to God, it's not for God. Why is it not for God? Because he don't need it. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. He don't need it. It's what you're doing is you're sowing into a promise. I'm giving this to you because I know according to your mathematical formulations that when I give unto you, it's going to be given back to me more and better and greater and stronger and healthier than it was when I gave it away.
Amen.
It's kingdom principles. But we struggle with that part because when we talk about sowing seeds in the church, we all understand that it becomes financial. Yes?
Yes.
Come on, church.
Yeah.
wants to reveal himself to you through your faith. Just like he revealed himself to Solomon and said, what can I do for you? Just like he revealed himself to the woman, the widow, and he said, this woman is truly more blessed than everyone else. He wants to reveal himself the same way to us. I believe God to go up to the altar and pray. It don't cost me nothing. I believe God to pray in the comforts of my own home. It don't cost me nothing. I believe God while I'm singing the worship songs loud as all get out in my car driving to work, crying, tears falling down my eyes, because it don't cost me nothing. But what he's saying is, when it comes from the areas that soar to you, the areas that touch you physically, are you willing to believe me for that? That woman gave all she had and was blessed. Solomon gave 1,000 inconvenient. Come on, y'all. Think about trying to carry a cow from here to Walmart. 1,000 trips with no golf carts. Come on, y'all. No pickup trucks to throw them in the back of. But he did it because he was desperate. He let his sacrifice match his desperation. And God moved just like that. It's a principle that we're leaving out because we're afraid to talk about our money in church.
Amen.
I get it. A lot of people have been burnt. We've seen it on TV a whole lot of times. This preacher did this, and he said if you sow a $20 million seed, God gonna bless you tomorrow. He's lying. And a lot of folk believed it. He's lying. Why is he lying? Because he's attaching money with a tangible blessing, and he's giving time frames as if he's God. God never gave a time frame to a man. Can we come on, prophets? We know this.
Amen.
He don't do that. Because you're planting a seed. A seed does not harvest overnight. So if he tells you, if you do this today, God's going to bless you tomorrow, he's trying to sow into your emotions. But God is saying the original intent for you giving a seed, it was for your faith and to cause him and summon him to move on your behalf in a desperate situation. Believing God to do something great for you, greater than what a prayer can do by itself. And the church has perverted sowing seeds to a point where people are afraid to talk about it. And I'm pretty sure when I started talking, when I used the word money, probably there's a few people here was like, oh, here we go. So y'all keep it honest, keep it real now. But the reality is God's kingdom principles are pure. So when you sow into purity.
Yes. Yes.
Purity by faith.
Yes.
Don't sow into the hype, do it today or else. You know, hurry up now or else God ain't gonna bless you if you don't do it. No.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. But you understand the sacrifice from kingdom principles and how it ties into the blessing that's promised from God.
That's it. That's it.
He has not once let anybody down that believed him. Has anybody ever believed God and he let you down? He said, I've been 100% faithful and honest since the beginning of time, and I don't plan on changing a day. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to close. I promise I'm closing right now. Lord help me. Whatever you do, wherever you go, everywhere you go, churches, including ours, we all have a mission. We have a vision that God has given us. We have an assignment that we have to carry out. And it requires, yes, it requires people to sow. You can't hide from that. it requires people to sow. So wherever you go, you're going to hear sow. And it's not because they want your money. Now that's what hurt. That's how you, when you get hurt, that's how you interpret the word sow. We create a dictionary, we put the word sow in it, and we put definition, you want my money. No. But sowing is two ways. When it's done according to kingdom principles, it blesses the ministry and it blesses you. Why? Because even though the ministry itself may not bless you, God is the one that's going to bless you because you gave. It's the same way he blessed Solomon, the same way he blessed that widow, he's going to bless you the same way because you're giving according to kingdom principles. You're not giving according to pressure. You're not giving according to guilt. You're giving because I know that if I sow into good ground, I shall reap a harvest, and I got to roll my sleeves up and prepare for the blessing that is coming.
Yes.